Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Off the Chain. Today I am so lucky to have Danielle Weber with me. I almost said Daniel Weber after I just started you. Welcome,
That's
thank
fair.
you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for
having me in the studio. We might grab some cheeky B-roll after we're done to just have a quick glimpse around. But it's an amazing space, and I'm sure, you know, seeing so many icons around the space keeps
Good vibes.
Nice and motivated.
Yeah, no, it is beautiful. It's a beautiful space that I protect very much so. So
Amazing.
It's not open to the public. So if I invite you here, I think you're all right. So.
Awesome. I mean, good one.
No, it's good.
So give us a bit of background on, you know, what your journey's been like so far, as far back as you want to go.
Okay.
Even to the French-Swiss surname, or, you know, not that far
Yeah,
back.
we figured that out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, artist journey in general, I guess you could say it started as a child, and I was drawing and painting at. I was drawing at 2-3 years old, painting at 9, and
Cool.
then I had a bit of a sabbatical from painting in my menace teenage years.
Okay.
And then I started sort of consistently painting at 17, 18, and I've been at it since then. So it's been a 12-year journey, and that started on small scale and then transitioned into murals, and it sort of just evolved as I was studying and working 3 jobs to, I guess, provide for the hobby at the time.
Yes.
That then turned into a full-time job. And I guess, yeah, it's been like the last sort of 2-3 years have been good in a sense of like solid income, but
Nice.
Before then it was definitely a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It still is, it definitely still is.
And is that in the family, like the artistic streak, or?
Well, my dad's a chef.
Yep.
And my mum's a teacher.
Okay.
My dad actually works with me now.
Amazing.
So,
Love
and mum
that.
helps me a lot too. And look, when I was younger, I used to watch mum do silk painting, and she used to do volunteer work. So
Cool.
it was always encouraged,
Yeah.
and so it definitely stemmed from that.
I love that. That's so cool. So how did you navigate the whole income issue? Like,
Look,
I always say, stay at home as long as you possibly can.
I'm still living at home,
Amazing.
being completely transparent. You know, I think everyone, I don't speak about it as much as I should, because I don't want to take away from the fact that I'm so grateful to be doing what I love.
Yep.
But when people ask the questions, I'm so honest and say, like, I wouldn't be able to have done it without the support, because it is so inconsistent.
But
and
I mean,
it's definitely hard.
There's nothing that, like, once people get around the thought of what other people are going to think,
Yeah.
that barrier is removed, and then you just do what you need to do to
Yeah.
get to where you want to be.
100%.
If you've got enough of a vision and you believe in yourself,
Yeah.
and you're lucky enough
Yeah.
that your parents
Exactly.
or whoever it is that
Yeah.
you're living with will allow you to do that,
Yeah.
then you'd be silly not to.
And you're patient. I think that's the key
Totally.
word there too, because a lot of people are like, oh, but I am 30, you know, I don't want to be living with my
The old
parents, and
expectations
like
of-
you want to,
yeah.
you know, you want a house, you want to tick that off. And
Yeah.
for me, it was like, okay, do I save up and buy a house, or do I buy myself a studio?
Correct.
And it's like, okay, I might be living with my parents for another few years, but that for me, you know, and even just this, having the support, because there are, you know, the highs are really high, the lows are really low.
100%.
And just having that, they're really the only people who, and you know, me and my partner live with them, and
Yeah.
they're the only people that really understand the ins and outs and get that.
I love
So
that.
yeah, so the support is huge. I do, and ultimately they're the ones who encourage me to pursue art. I wanted to do food science and end up in health science, and they were like, "Nah, you're going to study art," and I was like,
Oh.
"Don't know about that. I'm not going to make a living out of being an artist."
Parents every creative person dreams of.
Literally,
That's so cool,
yes.
because it's usually the opposite,
Yeah.
especially like with European upbringing, or even most, you know, immigrant parents.
100%.
I'm assuming that they're immigrants,
Yes,
but like my,
yep.
you know, many of my friends, you know, it was all about get to uni and
Go to
do it
uni,
that
get
way.
a job, be a lawyer, do the highest paying job,
Yeah.
security, and
Hate yourself.
ultimately, like, it's fair, because like a lot of, like, I mean, I don't know about your
Yeah.
background, but you know, my dad grew up on a farm, and mum grew up with not much at all.
Yeah.
So, and
Security makes sense.
security makes sense, but they still obviously saw that glimmer of you know, hope, or like had hope
Yep.
for me
They
making
probably saw how
something of
happy
it.
you were when you were doing it
Yeah,
as well, right?
probably. And sometimes, you know, you can't see past that at the time, but definitely
Totally.
worth it now. Yeah.
And then what attracted you, or how did you even hear about the NFT Web3 movement?
So, excuse all the noise going on in
Okay, that's all good.
in the studio in the business park today. Far out, sirens, toots, everything. Look, so I was into crypto since 2017, I think, roughly 2016.
Love it.
So, and I still don't understand a lot of it, and I know how much time people invest into researching and everything. So, why I mentioned that is because if I had been invested and seen some of the spikes and actually taken some profits and understand the power of like, you know, setting your future up, and especially as a female, knowing it was a male dominant space too, wanted me to get involved. And similarly in NFTs, when I heard of it, you know, I was sort of listening to Mila Kunis as well, and how she was saying I wanted to figure it out because it was such a male dominant space. She's like, how hard could this be? So, and then I was obviously watching what Beeple was doing, and it just got me curious. I was aware of how good from like a transactional point of view, I'd been paid in crypto, and, you know, having to chase clients, you know, huge corporations for money and not being, sending checks in the mail
So
still.
painful.
Like the Yankees sent me a check, New York Yankees. They're like the biggest corporation in the world.
I'm not surprised by that.
And so I think seeing how quick and how important that is as well, you know, look at all in construction, 30 days end of month, 60 days end of month. You're waiting 3-4 months sometimes to get paid. So from that point of view, I was like, okay, there's something in this technology, and there's you know, there's more to it than artists being able to have creative reins and freedom on what they want to create. So yeah, start of 2021. So we're coming up to 2 years now, nearly, that I've sort of
And was it the Beeple event that got your attention?
I had heard of them, and I was a bit confused as to what, you know, obviously being a traditional like physical artist, I was very confused of where the value like was lying in these. And I was like, trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
The thing that got me about Beeple, not so much the money, obviously, you know, 69 million, I was like, what the hell? But I was like, he's produced a piece of artwork every day. And I think that's what, I was like, oh, that's relentless. And I've kind of, that's a little bit like my mentality. I'm like, you've got to create consistently. Volume. If you're putting out, you just, you know, maintain that momentum. And I was like, there's something about this, like, that's enabling him to do that as well. So that's what intrigued me with the digital art and how he was, I
love that.
So it was a big rabbit hole that we're all in since then. And I've dropped 3 collections. 2 in the good market, 1 in the challenging market, and, you know, people are like, oh, aren't you going to wait? And I thought, you know what, in business we don't stop. So when things are tough, we keep going. So it's the same in the Web3 space. I'm like, I need to be able to actually understand the bear market, the bull market, and what better a way to drop something and figure it out in, you know, if we can do things in a really challenging time, I think it's a good test. And not that it makes things easier, but you build up your resilience, you work out what works and what doesn't, and it's a big learning
completely
curve.
And I think, you know, I've probably spoken about this a few times now on a couple of the other recordings that I've done, because we are in a bear market, and it's obviously glaringly obvious as all of these traumatic incidents happen and keep just pushing us down.
It's like, okay, here goes another one.
The point is, though, it's like the old saying, it's never a bad time to start a good business. It's a similar theory, right? But for me, I feel like it's amplified now because there's less noise. So the better offerings, the better operators, the ones that have retained a better community actually have a better chance of succeeding during this time. Because there's less going on. And
you stand out more.
And then you also are getting a run up for when the next wave of newbies do come in. You're already going to have this brand built up from over time.
Exactly. I love that.
So that's why I encourage people that I speak 100%. To keep going.
I was like, what do you got to lose? You know, it's and it's a good time to figure things out. We all know how overwhelming when things are going and everything's moving really quick. How overwhelming it is to actually be present and figure things out properly. So it's a perfect time now. You've got more space and more energy to 100%. Do that.
And how do you juggle? I probably know the answer to this, but how do you juggle the whole physical digital thing from a time perspective? Like we were just talking about something that you needed to work on tomorrow. You just sort of fit it into what your priorities and your goals are, or like are you prioritizing one or the other, or how are you sort of going about the balance?
I feel like it's a big wave. I feel like it's been coming in waves, or how I prioritize has been coming in waves. So I think when it depends on like the work and what's required on me, and like we'll say the web, you know, into my daily business life. But Yeah, I mean, when I'm really busy with murals, I don't have much capacity for like Web3 stuff and to sit on spaces. So when I've got the time, I'll do it, and when I don't, so it's not as if, I think I tried to like block out periods each week, and it's just like you can't work like that sometimes. You definitely still want to enjoy the process and the space, and a lot of people have burnt out in the Web3 space because it's so, they're trying to be everywhere and do everything. So I think I've just learned to set those boundaries and not be going to places because of FOMO, and just being like, what can I actually do this week, and what do I have the capacity? Yeah, because we're good for no one if you keep and at the end of the day, like a lot of us are in the same boat. We're not just doing, you know, the Web3 things. We've got family life, we've got business, we've got like very demanding businesses. I'd say, you know, 95% of my time is like trying to keep my other business going. So, look, I think it's just a balancing act that everyone's trying to figure out. And like any startup, you've got to give a lot of time and often feel like you're not getting much in return too. So that's something that you just note, and you just do what you can.
That sort of goes back to, I'd say it goes back to what we were talking about before around not being as concerned about what others think, or sort of being comfortable with what you feel your journey is, and just sticking to what your focus is. Because if you were trying to keep up with the Joneses, or you felt like I should have 6 collections out, or I should be spending more time building a community, or whatever it might be, you're just gonna be unhappy.
Yeah, I know, because you're spending your energy worrying about what you can and should be doing, rather than actually spending the energy on what you can control at that present time. So look, I think there's the way that most people are in the space right now, I think we're all wired the same, that like we have so much we want to do, not enough hours in the day,
crippled by opportunity.
Exactly, which is a beautiful thing. I think we just need to be realistic in that. Like, I mean, I had a bit of burnout. I got back from New York. I see it's a time. It's like no, you know, it wasn't even that long ago, but I properly didn't sleep for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I got really sick when I got back. I didn't have a voice for a couple of weeks and stuff. So burnout's real, definitely. But sometimes like those opportunities, you just got to, like, momentum is huge. So I think you just got to be disciplined enough to be able to do it when it's there, and then obviously be disciplined enough to take the time when
you've got to strike. No, that makes sense. That's cool. So tell us a little bit about the 3 collections.
So I think what's been really exciting is that I'm figuring it out as I go, which is the best part of it. So my first 2 collections were 3 one-of-ones, in which I gifted the physical to the highest auction, to the highest bidder in the auction. And they did fetch a lot more than what I anticipated for being something that was first off the bat, as in, like, for me, it was like, I'll just give it a shot and see how we go. So my 3rd collection, which I spent a whole year being an absolute drainer with my team and perfectionist. So by the time I've finished, you know, it'd been a year since we've been working on it. But we wanted to go down a little bit of a different path and build a bit of a bigger community. So we released 121. That's still very small compared to a lot of the generative projects. And
but it's a big lift from 6 or 3 at a time.
3 at a time, exactly. So
and there was a physical with each of those?
So how I did that one, so this Luminary, Steve's actually one of them, was I did 11 pieces, and there's 11 NFTs of each piece, which are animated and all have a story behind them. And then, so basically one NFT is a raffle into winning the physical.
Got it.
So so only one has minted out, which is Einstein, and so someone's won that physical basically for 0.22 Ethereum. And then if you don't win the physical, you get a print. So you get like a printout of it as a physical. So I think that's the biggest thing for that, was bridging that gap between physical and digital, and still, like, I get really excited to like gift something, but 100%. Obviously the you know, what will come to like fruition with having that NFT will be, you know, online platforms and the community, and having access to me as well, and hopefully being able to connect my community to brands that I work with too, eventually down the track.
That's
as well.
So cool.
So
I love that you're taking the opportunity to experiment as well. Like,
definitely.
You're not just doing something safe.
I was just like, you know, and look, I think we've only minted 34 of the 121, and you know, there's a lot of like not conflict, but everyone's like, oh, if you don't mint out, and I'm like, for me, I'm like, I'm not going
doesn't
anywhere,
have to be that
so
way.
it doesn't matter. Like I haven't sold out all of my originals online.
Correct.
And I'm never like, oh, nah, she's cancelled.
Pack it
she
up,
hasn't.
burn 'em.
Pack it up, chuck them in the bin. You
Yeah.
didn't sell out in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
It's really different for artists, I think. You know, I would prefer to keep what I'm doing a little bit more niche and smaller scale that is manageable for me, rather than blow myself up. And so I
look
think
at the amount of people that disappeared after massive roadmaps or just you know, vaporware.
Yeah.
So.
And I know how hard, like, or how challenging, how beautiful, but how challenging this journey has been for 10 years. And I know how much things take. So I think I'm quite like, I've gotten to a point where I'm like, okay, well, let's just be realistic with what you promise and what you put out as well.
Yeah, totally.
So so that's been really, really interesting. A lot of learnings, you know, from a tax perspective, from from all angles. There's a lot of learnings. I would say a lot of lessons. I wouldn't say mistakes, because I think you're just you know, learning.
Well, everyone's making it up at this point, right?
Exactly.
No, that's cool.
But yeah, no, it's been really beautiful. I had my first showing Upside Down, and the really cool thing is I said, I don't want all of our Web3 friends just in the same room together. So I invited, it was pretty much 50-50, like 50% Web 2, 50% Web 3, and seeing like everyone had so much fun. Yeah. My friends were like, I had no idea what most people were talking about, but it was so fun. Like, this is the best night out we had. And just like watching everyone mingle, I was like, this is exactly how we're going to onboard people.
Yeah, totally.
And I think it was just interesting because you had the screens and I had like the physicals. And everyone could then put two and two together, and such a cool space. Good vibes, and just that was my first exhibition. So and had I not been into NFTs, I probably wouldn't have had the nuts to do it.
Yeah, that's
true.
Well, good on you. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I have to do another one so you can
I was
come.
about to say, so you're going to do some more?
I
loved your text, Mum let Theo in. That was amazing.
Yeah, Mum let Theo in. I was like, I love that I said that you can come in. I had no idea who it was because I lost your number. So I was like, I don't even know who I've just said yes to. Could be my worst enemy.
No, it all worked out. But Spearmount couldn't make it, so I'll definitely
there'll be plenty more.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of output with that stuff too. It's like, you're like, oh yeah, this will be easy, and you start planning. Like, you know, shout out to like the NFT Fest guys. Like, there's so much work involved that people don't realize. It's 100%. Crazy.
So we're recording this on the day before NFT Fest. By the time this goes out, it'll be a week or so, maybe two after the event. You and I are both speaking at that.
Yeah,
which is
exciting.
Talking about how we're going to be able to get to all these different things that they're doing. I love that they've, you know, really put it on where people can, you know, really plan themselves.
Done things half. It's always.
And if you can't find somewhere to meet someone that sparks whatever you're trying to do, then you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. You know? There's so many people who have flown down and around from everywhere as well, which is really cool. It's exciting.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I think given that it's 9 months after our show in February, which feels like 3 years ago.
Oh my God, yeah.
Seeing the people that flew across for that, they were mostly, because of the time in the market, they were mostly consumers.
Yes.
There were collectors that wanted to meet other people that they'd been speaking with throughout COVID in their communities that they'd sort of owned similar NFTs, where this one, there's a bit of that, but it's mostly people that are looking to either already have started a career in the space or are looking to. I feel like, at least, or maybe that's just my
already
view
building
on Twitter.
Already like,
but I feel like that's a big chunk of it. I'm sure.
I agree.
You know, when I get Greg on the show, he'll be able to tell us what the breakdown was.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe I'm just connected to a lot of them on Twitter, and that's why I feel that way.
Yeah.
But it just feels a little different. That it's like, this is not FOMO, I need to be there, or I can't wait to see my friends. There is a bit of that.
Yeah.
It's more about, let's get down to business and let's
100%.
work out how to get it done.
Yeah, agreed. No, I think I've sort of assumed that that's a narrative, definitely. Yeah. Which is insane to think of, like, the shift that has happened. Yes, okay, it feels like, as you said, forever ago, but 9 months, like, that's not that long. And it's pretty cool to see, actually, that how much has evolved in that time.
Yeah, and to still, like, we did roughly 1,000, they're going to do roughly 1,000, to still have that many people to come to an event. Yeah. And the lead up wasn't really that long.
How many did CryptoCon like that was.
I don't know. I've heard numbers flown around between 3,500 to 4,500.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a bit of a wider net. But yeah, to your point, like there's so much, and that was at the start of the bear market. Yeah. So to see all the activity that's still happening, and we've seen it with crypto, not at that scale, but even in bear markets, people were going to meetups, people were continuing to work. But now that there's this tangible aspect, especially when you talk about like artists like yourself, where people can actually see the impact or the cultural relevance. There's something to build for them. Like there's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's just more tangible. You can see the impact that it'll have on culture because there's something physical that sort of represents it.
People are connecting the dots now. I think that's probably definitely.
The pennies drop where before it's all about the financial system or the back end of the blockchain that no one really understands what's going on. And now there's, things that people can relate to that and maybe even make them more interested to take time to actually learn it.
Exactly.
Which is cool. But so what's the plan for next year?
Next year, look, I think. Geez, that's a good question. So online platform, which I literally have been working on for over a year now.
Yep. Your own?
Yes.
Oh, great. Well done.
Yeah. So I think we've all learned in this space is that people are looking for they want to learn more. Which is it's off the back of what you've just said.
Yeah.
They're starting to understand it a bit more and they want to learn more. So I think for me, it's not I was gonna say it's my duty. I do feel like it is like I found my purpose.
You have a sense of responsibility.
I do. Yeah. I think I walked this journey blind for a lot of the time, and I think for us as who are already in the space, we need artists who stand up and who can advocate for other artists and onboard them. Because that's the way that we're going to grow.
Feeds the ecosystem.
Exactly. And I think knowing how daunting and the lessons that I've learned just in this short period of time, I would love to be able to make sure that other artists don't make those same, it's mistakes. I say it's not mistakes, lessons for me, but not, you don't want them going through that and setting yourself back in business like I did. So I think that online platform is a huge priority for me, and it's really exciting actually because mentoring has been a big thing for me, but it's now become a little bit harder to mentor one-on-one, and I want to still be able to impact more people on a bit of a bigger scale. So having that platform will be huge. And giving access to my community, Toast Punk Matt, his daughter is amazing. She's quite young and she draws.
Oh really?
Unbelievably. So I said he owns an NFT. I'm like, Emily will be able to do that course. It's unreal. She'll have access to it whenever she's ready.
So there's educational content like videos?
Educational from the business of art to murals to how to paint on canvas to all the all my tricks, all my checklists, insurances, all the things that has taken me so long to figure out. And then also an NFT creator component as well.
As in make your own on the platform?
As in where to start, how to start learning.
Got it.
Yeah, but also, so digital from how to do things digitally, who to go to, contacts, connecting people together, how to set up your MetaMask, where do you start, what podcast do you listen to, what, and then, if you want to start your NFTs, how do you do it? Because a lot of people don't even realize that I design mine digitally, then I paint them, and then I just take a photo, and then they upload it, and they're like, "What do you mean just take a photo?" I'm like, "That's the NFT." But they think it's so much more complicated than that. But you don't need to make it complicated.
No, for sure.
So things that are normal in our head are often, people are just trying to figure out, and they're like, penny drops.
Love
so that's online platforms a big priority for next year, and then obviously, I want to see where I go with. I think the legalities and things are going to be a bit hard for this next year, but I do think that we need to onboard children as well. Okay. So I do want to sort of go down the kids' books and something fun, maybe bigger projects that have characters in it that kids can relate to and onboard creatives at a young age.
I think it's made for that.
Yeah.
I think Gary Vee's showing that for sure, and a few others. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a few little plans in the Web3
space. So you're
space.
not dipping your toe in. You're doing stuff.
We want to do. We want to. Yeah, we
You're
do.
doing stuff.
Yeah,
that's good.
But obviously, I'm very, very passionate about my murals and everything else that goes on in business too. So all of the above.
So
I'm
you'll
definitely
find
not.
your balance.
Yeah.
And work out the timing that's right for you.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's cool.
Don't rush.
That's awesome. So what about, like, we've had so far a few different people with different paths, from sort of straight up entrepreneurs to, AR artists to, content creators, to many, many different walks of life.
Yeah.
And I've done that intentionally because I want people to be able to sort of find something they resonate with, and maybe it gives them a spark or something to make them feel like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's how I can sort of make my way in, or that's how I can sort of start. So what would you say to any artist that maybe they haven't even gotten to where you have from a physical painting perspective, but just they might be digital native full stop?
Yeah.
How do you think they should start to sort of get themselves not even comfortable, just familiar with NFTs?
So I think I'll go from where I started, and I think when I studied, I knew that everything had to be visual. So for me, I was like, I had to see things. People can't, just talk to me and I get it. So I think a happy medium between YouTube videos and podcasts is where I started. But then just immersing yourself in and asking the questions. That's something I don't do enough of, like literally just sliding in people's DMs and having a conversation with them. I think that's the best way to start. And obviously Twitter Spaces and things like that. But in terms of like the creation, I think we are so fearful of, what if we put something out and it doesn't sell? But I think the best way to learn, like if say for example, I've been doing it for 10 years, so I kind of understood what my audience likes in the Web2 space, but it is very different in Web3 as well. So it's been a trial and error. Like people think I had it figured out. I'm like, I still have no idea. Like I don't know what people want. So what better a way to put something out and put your feelers out there, create something that is still true to your craft. I think that's the biggest thing, is I was like, stay true to you. Don't try and think that you need to do something else, because I don't think that will work well in this space. That's pretty transparent.
It's got to be authentic.
It does have to be authentic to you. And I think put something out there. Don't go and spend 3 years on a 10,000 collection. Maybe try some one-of-ones and start putting things out there and get some feedback off people, and start small and then grow. I think that's the best sort of way to and you've literally got nothing to lose. And if it doesn't sell, you love, like if you're here, like you love what you do, you're creative.
And it's always going to be there too. Like I think of Mumbot, the Thai, I think she's Thai artist who got discovered by a few like decent sized players in NFTs, and then Gary Vee blew her up. Right? So even if your Genesis or your early pieces don't sell, just keep going. You're going to get better. And then once they do discover whichever release that you do, they're going to try and find what's the first one. And then that is going to go up to 100 ETH or whatever.
Because that's a part of the process.
100%. That's the rookie card.
That's the journey. Like that. And that's the thing, like, I look at some of my work, I'm like, oh my God, that's so bad. But that's literally what, if people look at my work now and they don't have anything to compare it to, how do they know where I've started?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's the
people
comparison
love
there.
Journeys as
they
well.
love that. It's raw. It's a storytelling in it. So, and that's what art is. So I think that's, it's a perfect example of that. You've literally got nothing to lose. Even when people are like, oh my God, you haven't sold out your collection. I'm like, I'm not going to take it offline. Like I'm like,
can't just delete it. It's there.
It's not like I believe in it. And as you said, like I might blow up in a couple of years' time, and then people are searching for stuff like that because they don't want the one of one for that. They want the piece of the journey that tells more of a story. It's really, and even I went to Bali for a change of scenery, and I did this piece, and I knew the meaning behind it, and it just didn't go where I wanted to go, and I wanted it to be a part of a collection. So when I figured it wasn't going where I wanted it to go, I was like, okay, it's just going to be a one of one. And now I've turned that into what do you call it? A limited open edition run for Osha Gallery.
Oh, cool.
This week. And
so that's what that's for. Amazing.
Yeah. And you know, I was all like, oh, like a lot of people are like, oh, you wasted that time on it. Never, like, you will always find a purpose for something, and whether it's now or in 10 years or 20 years time. So if you drop dead in 50 years time, I'm sure everyone's going to be wanting those pieces.
Create.
So
exactly.
just keep creating and enjoy the process as long as you're enjoying it. Yeah,
I love that.
Definitely.
Well, what a great note to finish off. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming here. It's been awesome.
Thanks, guys. Let us know what you think. Comment, DM, show up to NFT Fest, although this will be shown up for that.
We hope we saw you there.
Yeah, we hope we saw you there in the past. Thanks so much. I really hope you've been enjoying Off the Chain so far. No matter how you're consuming this content, please leave your feedback either through the content platform itself or find me on Twitter at offthechainweb3. Cheers for your support. Thanks a lot.